John for MTG Nexus, coming at you with a short Modern discussion. So it's been a minute since I've done anything with a discussion involving the Modern format, but I was watching Fran the other day, Amulet Titan, noted Amulet Titan streamer FP Lol something or other on Twitch, and it got me to thinking. He was talking about Amulet Titan in relation to power creep, but I also wonder in some ways if it doesn't apply to burn and other decks in particular. If you look at a lot of the decks that used to dominate or be a essential part of the Modern format, you used to have burn, infect, Tron, Amulet. You know, all these were decks that were kind of defining decks in the format. Other than Tron, ironically, each one of them has actually had a sister deck or an equivalent deck kind of emerge to kind of take their place, as they really haven't gotten too many new tools, or they've been neutered by a ban, etc. So, in terms of, first off, Amulet Titan, the deck Fran was talking about, green-white Eldamari's Toolbox kind of popped up. It got tools like Elvish Reclaimer, which kind of made the deck possible. Dryad, it's a slightly better Field of the Dead deck, gets to play Flagstones of Trocare. So, it's a deck that gets to do a lot of the same things Amulet does, only it actually gets to play reliable removal with Path to Exile and Celestial Purge, which make a lot of its more difficult matchups possible, along with lightweight hate cards like Eidolon of Rhetoric, Linvala, etc. So, ironically, even though it's a slower version of Amulet comparatively as far as with the key turn of the deck, it does have the ability to interact, slow down, play in a grindier format. Mono Red Aggro, a deck that M. Hayashi has been working on, along with a lot of other people once they realized the powerfulness of it. Plays a lot of new cards, plays things like Seasoned Pyromancer, plays Bone Crusher Giant, plays things like, Blood Moon, not a new card, but something traditional burn can't play. A lot of this, is innovation. A lot of it is the ability to play a longer game, which burn kind of struggles with without having too many ways to recoup card advantage. But just to say that, there's a deck that shares a lot of the same characteristics as burn, but has the ability to play long and also plays a lot of the new powerful cards. Hammer Time. So, while Hammer Time is not a direct spiritual successor to something like Infect, it effectively plays like an Infect combo deck. Obviously, it does have the Inkmoth Nexus kill, but you also have like the Pure Steel Paladin just beating down. You have Memnite, just various different things that, with the equipment and the ability to equip it at instant speed with, like, Sigarda's Aid here. A lot of the decks that used to define the format just really haven't gotten that many tools. Like, Infect actually got weaker because it lost Gitaxian Probe. Burn, while it's gotten some tools, its biggest recent addition outside of the Canopy Lands, which, don't get me wrong, were a huge addition, really hasn't had any. I mean, Skewer the Critics, kind of. Some people don't even play Skewer the Critics. You also have Rakdos Death Shadow and Rakdos Midrange, kind of the spiritual successor to Jund. The one thing Rakdos Death Shadow does is, well, it's like I said, it's not exactly Jund, but they're executing a very similar game plan, but this deck just has a slightly faster kill. It's only a 2-color mana base, so you're not taking as much damage from the mana base in the creature matchups, and you still get to play the, Fatal Push, Lightning Bolt, Thoughtseize, Inquisition, Disruption package that Jund plays, while playing a lower curve and also having the ability to clock your opponent much more quickly. So you get to play the grinding game because of Luris and Bobble. So, all that to say, an Amulet Titan, obviously, with what they call Eldamari's Toolbox here, but it's really green-white Reclaimer. And even, obviously, control decks, Uro piles have taken over what used to be the traditional blue-white X control decks, although you still see some people working on Miracles and Aspiring Spike working on a bunch of different things. So it's just kind of funny that maybe the focus shouldn't be on perfecting the deck. Like, don't get me wrong, Burn's still playable, Jun's still playable, Amulet Titan still playable, does results. But the problem becomes, you know, the power creep. A lot of those decks just haven't gotten new tools, or not sufficient enough tools when you consider that, you know, a deck like Uro Omnath, you know, obviously didn't exist previously, but got Uro, Omnath, you know, Ren and 6, Teferi, Field of the Dead, you know, Hour of Promise, you know, just a bunch of new cards over the last several years. Heliod Company, obviously, it got Heliod. This is kind of the spiritual successor to the old Kitchen Finks combo decks in some regards, but, you know, has to have less moving pieces. You know, it's not quite the same as Devoted Druid combo, but they're executing very similar infinite damage, infinite whatever combo. So I do find it funny that while the traditional powerhouses, Jun got Ren and 6 and Cycle Lands, but that really isn't enough to compete with the other stuff going on in the format anymore. I mean, it's good against the creature decks, but gets owned by the Uro decks. It's just kind of crazy that certain decks are by the wayside. Burn, Jun, Amulet. Tron's a weird case just because Tron, you know, while Tron also got Karn the Great Creator, you know, Tron's just a weird deck because, you know, having 7 mana on turn 3 is just powerful in some metas. In other metas, it's just like total garbage. Like against Oops All Spells or, you know, Belcher, if you can't get the Karn down on 3 and shut down their artifacts, you're kind of in trouble. So I find it funny that, you know, a lot of people say their pet deck is dead, but the reality is a lot of the pet decks have morphed. You know, Jund has become either Rakdos midrange or Rakdos to Shadow, taking a little bit more of an aggressive approach. Eldamari's Toolbox, or, you know, Green-White Reclaimer is kind of taking over Amulet Titan. And Mono Red Aggro, Mono Red Obosh, Mono Red Prowess, whatever you want to call it, is going to take it over for Burn. Another point, you know, talking about power creep. You know, power creep's a real thing. And another thing, and maybe I should make a completely separate video about it, is the amount of iterations. I think as information gets more and more shared, like Twitter or Reddit or Facebook groups, I think decks get refined a lot more quicker than they used to. You know, that's one of the reasons why, you know, formats like, you know, Standard get iterated so quickly because of Arena, Historic to a certain degree. Pioneer kind of stales out pretty quickly. You know, I think one of the things that it's been a positive but also a negative for the Magic community is just that formats get figured out way more quickly, especially formats that people have enjoyed. You know, there was a bit there for Modern after Astrolabe got banned that everybody was kind of enjoying the format. Now a lot of people have been decrying the format, me among them. I was complaining because my pet deck is dead. Well, not dead, but, you know, it's not in the best shape that it's been. You know, but I wonder how much of that is just because the formats get iterated so quickly, and, you know, honestly, it's just kind of a struggle to find new adaptations, or not wanting to really give up, you know, a deck you have played for like 2 or 3 years or 4 years with Burn, or people not wanting to give up their Jund, or not wanting to give up their Amulet Titan, not realizing that it's not the best version right now. You know, Gruul was another deck kind of fallen off the face of the earth. Is Gruul. You know, that was a deck that was, everyone's like, oh, Bloodmoon's going to take over the format. Well, I mean, Bloodmoon's part of the format, but it's in a more aggressive show like Mono Red Aggro instead of a deck that's trying to play Mana Dork on 1, play 3-drop, you know. Format's pretty ready for a 1-mana Mana Dork. You know, Fatal Push, Lightning Bolt, Lava Dart, and just ignoring what you're doing and killing you with Heliod combo, or getting an infinite life that the Gruul deck can't ever beat, or, you know, there's so many things. I honestly think taking a step back and looking at the format from a different view, or I understand it's not easy to switch decks, you know, but maybe it's kind of time to look at decks that share similar characteristics to the deck that you're grown accustomed to if you're kind of frustrated with the modern format and wondering, you know, should I be playing that deck instead? You know, like mono red aggro if you're playing Burn, green white Reclaimer if you're on Titan, you know, one of the Death Shadow Rakdos one of the Rakdos variants if you're on Jund. You know, if you used to play Infect, Hammer Time's a pretty reasonable deck right now. Just kind of my long-winded, you know, kind of building off of what both Fran said and to a certain extent GG when he was on his thing with Nikachu. I just honestly think the format has evolved, but people playing specific decks haven't necessarily caught on that there are similar decks in the format. They either have to adapt or be frustrated with the format to a certain degree. So anyways, this has been John for MTG Nexus. Let me know what you think down in the comments about this particular video, and if you'd like to see maybe a little bit more exploration about, you know, the iterations of formats, whether they're going too quickly, and maybe, you know, maybe Wizards kind of hiding some of the information from us might be a good thing, because, you know, maybe these decks get figured out way too quickly. So anyways, this has been John for MTG Nexus.